Hi everyone, it's Fiona Brooker here, and I have a tip for you for our Ancestry Unpacked sessions. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I gave you some tips about using the gallery, and I wanted to take this one step further and look at the albums in the gallery. So as you can remember, we were looking at the Memories in Time project family tree and the images that I've got there. And I'd already started to set up a couple of different albums within there. So I've just clicked along onto the albums option there. And so I've got one for an album about a particular person, Ernest Partridge, and collecting up his photos. I've got another album set up there for the memorial cards that I've added into this family tree of collected items so that people can find those. But I wanted to talk about setting up these albums. And so here is where you get to after you click on the Create Album button. So you have space here to give the album a name. You have a date if it's a specific event or a specific date that you can link the photos to or the documents to. You can link it to a location. And then you've got this lovely button called Album Type, or a lovely option. And if you click on that, you get a whole drop-down list of things such as family recipes, documents, heirlooms, military mementos, fridge art, I love it, holidays, weddings, family pets. There's lots to choose from in there with regard to album names. Now, at this stage, we don't have any choice of making up the type of album that we'd want to have in there. We have to click on one of those options. So often I will still default back to using album as my default setting, but there are some options in there, and there are some great ideas in there of what you might want to create an album of. I know I've got some family recipe books that would be really cool to be able to share with other family members. And then you have a description. So you can sit down the bottom and say, this gallery that I'm setting up here, it's Canterbury, New Zealand links. So it's the things that I have collected into this album, this gallery, that all have links to Canterbury and New Zealand. So it's got a location, but I haven't put a date because they're all over the place in dates. It is an album, as I say, my default is sort of to go to the album. And then I've got the ability to write a little bit of a description. So this is a description for me to understand why I've put these things together. So these all have links to the region. Nice, simple description, but that the families don't necessarily all link together. That makes sense. I can understand why I've put this album together. And so I create the album. Here it is here. It's all set up. There's that description that I've put in. I can see the date that I created this album as well. And then I can go and add to the album. So there's the button on the right-hand side of the screen, add to album. And when I click on that, I can go and then select the items I want to put in this album. So that's pretty simple to be able to do that. And so all I then have to do is click on the Add Media button at the bottom. I've clicked on 7 different items here, and it will add all of those to the album. And oh, it added that certificate as the cover of the album. That's really interesting. I wasn't really expecting that to happen. Oh, I don't know if I really want that certificate as being the cover of that album. Well, the great news is that if you click on the little button on the side, you have the ability to edit the album. You have the ability to edit the album cover, to share the album, or delete the album. Now, deleting the album does not mean you delete the media within it. It's just a container that is holding it at the moment. All you're really doing is putting everything back into the open gallery. And the great things about these albums as well is items can be in multiple albums. So if we just jump back a couple of slides, you'll see that I've put things into this album that are already in the other album. So the memorial cards, a photo of Ernest Partridge, that's already in an existing album. So we can catalogue these items in several different ways. So let's just jump back through, because the great thing about this is that I can then go and get my phone out and use the Ancestry app, and I can see these in my gallery at the bottom as well. It's called Memories here on the phone app. So you click on the memories at the bottom of the screen. I'm on an Android. Sorry, Apple users, I don't have an Apple phone to be able to show you this on, an iPhone. So you can look at this, you can go into your gallery, you can have a look at all the things that you've got saved in there. Then I started thinking, these albums could be really useful in lots of different ways. So I need you to put your thinking cap on and think about, when would you want to see the image again? When would it be really useful to be able to find a collection of images straight away at some time in the future? So a subset of your whole gallery of images or documents that you've uploaded, to be able to see those. And I thought, well, okay, let's have a look at this as a concept. Now, for those that know me, you will know that I really like to separate my family tree into my 4 grandparents' lines. And as part of that, I use a lot of colour. It makes sense to my brain. It helps me to understand things. So setting up a group for paternal grandfather, paternal grandmother, etc. Now, I would put on their surnames into this as well, would be really useful. So I thought, okay, I'm going to set up a paternal grandfather line folder. And so what I can then do is I can go and choose by clicking on that add cover image to add an image. Now, in here, I could have selected one of the things in the gallery, and that would have absolutely become the cover of this album. However, I also have the ability to upload some media. So off to the side, I created a little red image called Paternal Grandfather Line. As I say, could have had Urquhart on there, which is my grandfather line for my paternal line. And I uploaded that as the image. And that then became my album cover photo. And it really stands out in the whole gallery of things. Now, it won't show to anyone else because it's not attached to a person. So this is an image in my gallery, but it's not attached to a person, so it will never show if somebody is looking for a particular person. It won't show as a hint or anything like that. It's just in my gallery, and I'm the only one who have access to it unless I share. But remember that question I asked you about, when would it be useful to see a collection of things? Well, here's some ideas. How about if you're going on a research trip? So I've just been on a trip that's involved some research. Wouldn't it have been really useful to sort of have the things that maybe I wanted to share with some cousins that I was meeting up with? Or maybe it's a collection of images for a cemetery, for example, that I actually want to go and visit the graves and see for myself, because I've only ever had images sent to me, or I've seen them on Findgrave or something like that. So it could be a whole selection of things related to going on a research trip. It could be all the images related to a research project. Maybe I'm finally getting around to writing a story to be able to share that out with other people. So I want to talk about a research project and gather all the material together that's in my gallery that will be useful for that research project. Or maybe it's a collection. Maybe I've got a whole lot of photos by visiting someone else. Or maybe I'm about to go and visit that cousin and they've said, hey, we've got a photograph album. Do you want to get copies of those photos? Remember that phone? Well, all of a sudden I've now got those folders set up on my phone as well, those albums. So I can go into the albums. I can then go and click in one and I can start either scanning photos, I can take photos, I can scan documents, I can add gallery from my gallery already if I've already been out taking photos, and add them into this newly created album on my phone, on my Ancestry app on my phone. So they're organised as I go. Imagine coming home each night and actually putting things into albums. I can then share that as well with other people. So maybe I want to share it back to the person whose album I've been sitting there looking at. And by the way, I think you can record audio in there as well at the same time. So while maybe you're talking over these photos as you go, I hope that makes things a little bit useful for you. Go and play with the albums. Remember, you don't have to do it all at once. Just start with one and go from there. Maybe it's something that you do while you're sitting distracted in front of TV or something like that. Just move a few photos into the right albums, etc. Have fun. Thanks for watching. This is Ancestry Unpacked with the support of Ancestry.